He is on. Welcome back to PoPolitickin.com, your home for stuff help means hip hop. Right now we're live on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, 1212 and place to be with Uncle Fester. How you doing?
Good, man. Feeling real good. How are you?
Good. I take it you're a Adams Family fan or something like that. Ain't that from Adams Family?
Yeah, it's Adam's Family reference. It was like, honestly, it was like a super old nickname, like when I was like 19, um, I mean, I had like a different DJ name that was whack. And a friend of mine, I was like annoying him, and he was like, and he just said, "Oh man, Fester," and because I had like a buzz cut at the time, so like I think it's just because I had my hair short. I didn't have a beard at the time either.
Mm-hmm.
And, so he just kind of called me Fester at the time, just like as like a thing. And, like 18, 19, 20 years later, um, it's still my it's still my name, bro. So, yeah, I mean, Adam Sandler's cool, but it's just more like it's just one of these genuine nicknames that sticks to you. You know what I mean? And
So
so I just ran with it, man. I just went with it for for a while now.
yeah, I say, what did you do to get that nickname?
I don't even remember exactly, but I was just like it was just like me and I think it was me and one of my homeboys were at like a friend of his. It wasn't even really at a friend of mine's place, and for some reason I was annoying him. For some reason I don't even remember, to be honest. And he was just like that's what he called me because as a way to try to get at me or something. You know what I mean? And then people just started calling me Fess, and that's just been my name for a long time now.
All right. Then where you from?
I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, on the east coast of Canada. For those that don't know, it's just above Maine, just a little northeast of Maine, not too far. So up in this part of the world here.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get involved with hip hop?
I mean, been a fan for forever, right? So, and then like I started D through DJing really is like what got me started early on, just like DJing parties and stuff like that. Like we had like a real dope scene here. Not being too far from New York either. Like we were like really directly influenced at the same time that New York stuff was going on. So there's been like like a strong part of the Canadian rap scene lives out here on the East. So like I had mentors growing up through the years, like teach me how to DJ and make beats and things like that. So I started really just like DJing vinyl and like like fell in love with like sampling and making beats and DJing. Um, so like that's really how I got started was like through DJing.
Hmm. And then who are some of the artists you think you got your most influence from, like your major influences?
Um, I mean, I have a specific memory of seeing like Large Professor's Mad Scientist video where he's got like the turntable strapped to his back and he like walks up on the roof and he sets them up and he's like DJing and rapping on the roof and something about that when I saw that I was like, yo, like this is what I want to do. Like I want to figure out what's going on here. Um, so like that's like a large pro is a big influence. Like a lot of producers. I have a lot of producer influences. Like I remember listening to like Eric Sermon records through the '90s, like Redman albums or Keith Murray or Def Squad or EPMD or whatever that Eric Sermon would produce. And like I'd hear him doing like the backups and like there's just different production tricks I like picked up for some reason of his. So it sort of like taught me like as just as like the internet was popping off, like I'm like a young kid like reading liner notes and trying to figure out what's going on. There's not a lot of information out there, so like producers like that, like I like would learn stuff from just because I was able to pick stuff out by listening. So like a lot of producers like DJ Premier, Eric Sermon, Large Professor, Pete Rock, like, and then like through the years basically like peers or people like that I would work with or like have a chance to be around, people that would play beats and you'd be like, it would give you that stink face and you'd be like, damn, like my homeboy made this, like I gotta like step my game up, So like just after sort of like the initial fan phase and like making beats for a little bit, it's more like peers, honestly, that are an influence because you hear stuff that inspires you and you're like, damn, like Like not only am I like, do I love this and I'm happy for this person, but like I gotta step my game up because like I feel like they just raised the bar, you know. So that's a big influence on me too.
How do you learn how to make beats?
I started making beats on like hardware, like on like sampler units, you know what I mean? It was like an old Roland unit, but like people around me at that time were using like SP12s and MPCs and things like that. So I learned kind of like on an old school way.
Mhm.
Like computer like Fruity Loops had just started popping at that time and like Reason and other like software, like early versions and like Logic and stuff. So was using like DAWs and like like using computer software too, but I was learning like samplers at the same time. So it was just me and my homeboys like like living in an apartment, learning together at the same time, right? Like I during that time I was going to school to be an audio engineer. Like I worked in studios doing engineering for a lot of years. Um, so like it was a pretty easy environment to like learn how to be a producer in. So like I was lucky to be going to school for that at the time and had people around me that were interested in similar things. So we just all shared resources and pushed each other to learn. Like I said before too, Halifax had a dope hip hop scene. So like local producers I was learning a lot from like coming up as a young kid and watching them too. So all that stuff kind of combined, then then you just sit in a room with a box for a long time until you come out dope.
Then so what approach do you make when you produce, and what do you feel like makes you unique?
Um, man, like I think like my techniques and my approach has changed a little bit over the years, but like I think the main approach for me is just like I'm a sample-based producer at heart. Like I've learned to like play keys and play bass and a whole bunch of other things over the year, like learn about like music notation and arrangement um and all that kind of stuff. But at heart, I'm a sample guy, and that's where all of my stuff starts from, whether it's sampled breaks and drums that I'm programming. And I'm not, for me, like I'm kind of like a hip hop guy. Like I'm cool to loop things, and I'm also cool to like chop things up and break them down and do more intricate arrangements. So I think the core for me, because I do utilize samples in different ways, is just like the sample itself. You know what I mean? So and in terms of my signature, like I don't know what would make because like lots of producers use samples. So I think it would. I think people would have to listen to some of my records to pick that out. I pride myself on being an engineer, a DJ, and a producer, so maybe that's a signature of mine. Is that like I'm one of these producers that handles a lot of different aspects behind the scenes. Um, so I kind of pride myself on being an all around producer. Like whether someone's in the booth or whether I'm mixing a record or making a beat, or I always got my picture on the or my mind on the overall picture rather, like the full sound. Like so maybe that would be my signature, I guess.
And what are some of the challenges you face making music?
Challenges, man, are just being. I think one of the main things, one of the biggest tools and the biggest challenges is like connecting with people online. Like I've got a lot of relationships with people in Canada and locally where I'm at, but I've always trying to expand and work with people beyond that, and for better or worse, a lot of the hip hop world takes place in the United States, right? Like you got to break in with artists there, and you got to make some sort of make yourself known in different ways and network in those circles if you want to, like show up on the charts and you want people to start listening to your music and things like that. And I've been involved with different groups over the years and sort of like learned those lessons through trial and error over the years. So the challenging thing really for where I'm at is like to break out of just being on the internet. And being known that way and to like go places and like I played with groups before they've toured around, so I've been able to meet people in person and work with people in person, and I think that's the biggest challenge, is to sort of break that barrier and move beyond that and meet people in person and like make the builds and the musical relationships go beyond just casual, hey, what up online type of thing.
How do you stay creative?
Um, that's a great question, man. I'm always driven. Like I'm obsessed with making beats and doing this type of thing. I'm bored if I don't. Like I'm really bored. Like I don't like I don't, sometimes I love to sit down and watch a movie or chill out or play a game or whatever. But a lot of the times, man, if I'm not doing this like for a large percentage of my time, then I'm real bored. I'm restless. I don't know what to do with myself. So being creative is like a real like something I got to do, man. Or like I'm uh, unless it's like a planned vacation or something, I get pretty miserable if I go too long without doing this. So for me, it keeps me balanced, man. It keeps me moving forward.
Hmm. So, and then so how did you hook up with John Cressy?
Well, man, me and Creasy, we met online, just like I said. Me and my boy AP, the Overlord, a la Preem, we were working on some stuff at the time. We were working on some albums, and Creasy and him were real tight. And he had heard some of my beats, some of the stuff we were working on, and he hollered at me and was like, "Hey, man, I'm working on some new stuff. Let me know if you want to if you want to work, if you want to do some stuff." So I was like, "Yeah, man." I sent him a beat pack. I don't know, like 10 beats or something like that, and he heard them and hit me back right away and was like, "Yo, this is an album, man. Like, I would like to do a whole record with you. What do you think?" And so I was like, "Yeah." Right away, I'd liked his stuff, and down with people who I was already working with and had a dope creative relationship with. So, we basically forged like a friendship, became homies as we started working on our first record that we did together called Still Villain. Um, so yeah, we just became homies while we did the record, essentially, man. And then like from there, it just kept going, man, because we're constantly working on things and constantly communicating and doing new stuff. Like we just released our record at the end of October, beginning of November, and we're already ready to do some new stuff. We got a track with Benny the Butcher dropping in December. We just dropped the sort of the artwork and some teaser audio for that online today. So like where we always got something moving, me and Crazy. So like we've like, since we met online and we're like, hey, let's work. Like 2 years ago, we've been kind of nonstop. Sorry, what's that? I can't hear you.
I said, who's the wrestling fan?
Oh, we both are, man. We're both big wrestling fans. That was something that we didn't discuss actually because he was like on the villain theme. Like with the first album we did, Still Villain, it was Shredder was his kind of the villain that he was picking. So for this one, he was like, "Hey man, I want to do like a bigger, badder villain for this one." And he was like, "What do you think about Hogan?" And we hadn't really talked about wrestling at this time, so when he mentioned that, like we both were like started talking wrestling, and we both realized that we were fans and stuff. So for me, I thought Hogan was dope because rappers want to be Ric Flair, right? Rappers want to be. It's easier for rapper Ric Flair can't be a bad guy to rappers, man. Like rappers love he can't be a villain. Like rappers love people like Ric Flair too much, but Hogan, man, like Hogan's a dude that like even wrestling fans don't really like, and like in real life and as a character as Hollywood Hogan, he's a bad guy. So to me, I thought it was brilliant. I thought I was like, man, like that's so easy. To, like if you know wrestling, I mean, some people still love Hogan. Don't get me wrong, but it's easy to dislike Hogan too. And I thought that was dope. That was what was really dope about the villain concept. Um, and the fact that both Creasy and I are genuine fans of wrestling, because underground rap loves wrestling so much. I will. For me, we needed to be genuine fans about it, and we needed to like be really conceptual about the project because I didn't want us to seem like we were just jumping on a trend. You know what I mean? Like it had our genuine fandom of wrestling had to come out through the project because underground rap loves wrestling, and I didn't want to be for me. I didn't want to be seen as just jumping on a trend anyway. So I was dope to me that to find out that Creasy was a real fan, and him and I just like started talking wrestling once we found out.
What made you a fan of wrestling?
Um, I just watching it as a kid, man. To be honest, like I just like that's what made me a fan of it. Like, um,
So you like Bret
just
Hart, Chris Jericho and Edge and all them and Christian, all the Canadians.
yeah, man. Like I do
Ed
have
Warren,
man. I hate to be stereotypical, but I
Heart
do have
Foundation, Heart
yeah. But
Foundation.
Owen Hart's my favorite wrestler, straight up, man. I'm not even saying that. That's just the truth. So like it is stereotypical that Canadians love Canadian wrestlers, but like that did matter to me when I was a kid, right? So Yeah, for real. Like that, like and that's the thing, like wrestling was popping in Canada, right? Like there was a culture of wrestling here, so it was like it was easy to be a fan. There were shows around and stuff. So
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I would say, so what are some of your interests outside of music?
um, I love I mean, kind of I'm a typical like I feel like I'm kind of a typical rap guy, man. Like I like wrestling, I like watching like basketball or baseball. Like hanging with my girl, hanging with my nieces. Um, man, I'm also like I worked for a lot of years as a technician and a producer in radio and in music studios. So like just like audio in general, besides music, is an interest of mine. Stuff like that. Sometimes I make some money on the side by doing like audio gigs and stuff like that too, right? So but just that kind of stuff, man. Like just play video game here or there with hang out with my girl, watch some ball, see my nieces. I love to cook, actually, man. That's probably the biggest thing besides music. Actually, now that I think about it, is cooking. I love to cook. So there you go.
So y'all don't do Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving?
We did already. We did a couple. Ours is like at the end of October. But
Same with
my girl's from the States. My wife's from. So we're doing something this weekend. We always do a little something for American Thanksgiving
Hey,
too.
what's the name of the Canadian Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving.
Okay, you just have it early.
Yeah, just have it earlier. Exactly.
What's the purpose of having it earlier?
I think for us, it's always been like in Canada, it's always been like to mark the end of like when the seasons change and like we have to bring like the vegetables in from the farms and stuff like the harvest season or whatever. It's like here because it gets cold, you gotta harvest food at a certain time. So it's like a real old time thing where it's like you had to bring all your crops in and like slaughter your chickens for the winter and that kind of thing. So you had like this big feast at a certain time of year, and that's like just at the end of October here. So like
So what,
it's kind of like old tradition that just kind of stuck around for a long time.
and then what do you like to cook?
Oh man, like I mean, I like to cook everything, man. Like, I mean, that's kind of a lame answer. Recently, I've been cooking like a lot of Japanese because I got a close friend who's like a top tier Japanese chef, and like me and my girl hang out with me and my boy Eric and Ami, and Ami shows me he's been showing me some tricks in Japanese cuisine. So I've been loving doing like Japanese cuisine these days and things like that. So. Um, but yeah, man, like I love to cook all types of things. Like also my girl is Mexican too. She's Latina, so her moving to Canada, like I had to get good at cooking Mexican food and making her mom's recipes and stuff. Like that was like a prerequisite for her coming here, pretty much. So like I'm pretty mean with Mexican dishes too.
You can make burritos and stuff.
Oh yeah, man. Anything like enchiladas, tacos, man, even more complicated stuff like pozole and like tamales and things like that, man. Like I'm with it, man. I'm with it. So,
Okay. And then what advice would you give to new artists?
man, I'm lucky because I get to like work. I've got to work with like local artists a lot where I'm at and like help develop people and sort of share my experiences through the years. And the one piece of advice, man, that seems to like be the most relevant, and it's going to seem super simple and almost cliche to people, and that's just keep doing it. And that's why people are always like, oh, like if you're passionate for it, like go for it because like that's the fuel that's going to keep you going. Like I've seen so many talented people not make it, man. There's so many talented people. There are so many people with talent. It's not talent that dictates whether you have success, and success is also different for a lot of people too. So you really got to define what success is for you,
Right.
and you got to stick with it. Like you got to like just keep going. Like I know so many talented people that if they had just kept going, and if they didn't decide that like being a family guy or going to do this job and not do music or whatever was more important, they would have probably succeeded in music too. Um, so just stay. If you're driven, man, just find a way to keep that passion and keep moving. That's the best advice you can get because um, I've never seen anyone stick with it not find some measure of success.
Mhm. All right. And then what would you like to say to your fans and supporters?
Oh man, just as always, man. I just appreciate people taking the time. Like I appreciate you taking the time to chat. I appreciate people taking the time to listen to this and to like really about taking the time to listen to anything about the culture and musicians and artists and things like that. So if anyone's putting their ears to my music, man, I just appreciate it so much. And like I know people, fans of mine already know that like if I have merch or I have physical copies or anything like that, my prices are always as low as they can go. Because like I want people to have this stuff in their hands, and the more that goes out, the better. And I think it's just important that the stuff I make gets heard. So anyone that listens, man, I just appreciate you. If you take the time to find out a little about me or listen, I just appreciate that in the fullest.
I want to say thank you for coming through politicking with me.
Yo, man, I really appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, no doubt. You want to tell them how to hit you up? Any shout
Yeah,
out?
man. Yeah, man. The best way to hit me up is on Instagram, probably at Fester902, Fester, like Uncle Fester from the Addams Family, like we said. Fester902 on Instagram, or DJ Uncle Fester is my website. It has all my links on it. Also, you can check out my boy Creasy. That's Creasy, Creasy, Creasy WWG on Instagram. Just look up John Creasy. You'll find all his music. We're going to be releasing lots of heat coming up. And I work with lots of different MCs, so check it out. We got this new track with Benny the Butcher coming in early December. So tap into the social media and check it out.
Yeah, we gotta see what happened to him.
We're crazy?
Yeah. We didn't make it. We gotta see what happens to
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We got to see what happened to him, man. He was ready to go, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. So who knows where Crazy's at?
All right, bro. Till the next time.
All
Any
right, man.
any last words for the listeners?
Oh man, just like yo, this is where it's at, man. If you're a hip hop head, you know what's up. Appreciate